Hey, welcome everybody to the brand new Marriage Monthly podcast. It's Gabe and Melissa Kolstad. We're excited to be with you. We're kicking off this podcast because we believe that marriage needs some support right now in this season, and we really like each other, and so we wanted to talk about how that happened and why we think that it keeps happening for us. And so this is really a podcast just to help ordinary couples have extraordinary marriages. We're kicking off a series called How to Enjoy Your Marriage. Last month in our first episode, we talked about friendship as the first secret. This time we're talking about adventure. Melissa's going to kick us off.
My favorite.
Yeah. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Oh, adventure is like my favorite thing on earth. That's what I live for, is doing stuff together, having fun together, planning things together. We're going to talk a lot more about that, but we're going to start out with number one is dream it together. Yeah,
dream it together is important. We've done a lot of adventuring together. And one of the things that we've talked a little bit about is like, what's the stuff on our bucket list? We've had a lot of bucket list things. And over the years, I guess just because we've talked about it so much, the list kept growing. And now it's gotten really expensive. But we've tried checking stuff off of that.
Right.
What's one of your favorite things that we've dreamed together?
Hands down, first trip to Italy. I'm Italian. It was always a passionate dream for me to go to Italy. And Gabe helped make that come true. And so it was absolutely so much fun. We backpacked and we stayed in hostels and we made it happen because it was a dream. We did it on the cheap. Yeah. And we've been there a few times since then, and we're able to take the kids a couple times. And so Italy has definitely been a winner on my bucket list.
Yeah. And I think it's so important, maybe even right now, kind of taking a time out from COVID, it's so important to think about adventure needs to be a part of our marriage.
Yeah.
It's way too easy right now for couples to go like, no, it's
because we're feeling
time.
Isolated and trapped.
Yep.
So
we're isolated, we're trapped. We're not sure about finances. And so we have this tendency to pull back and go like, no fun, no adventure. We're just going to get through this season. Yeah. And unfortunately, it's not going well for a lot of couples that have that mentality. And
it's already been 5 months.
That. Yeah.
So you can't do this forever.
I want to challenge that. So as Melissa said, the first key to adventure is to dream it together. Yeah. And we think that's about having an imagination for your marriage. People have imaginations for a lot of things. What's sad sometimes to me is when somebody goes, we just got done remodeling our house. We just talked about that last episode. But sometimes people have more imagination for their kitchen than they do for their marriage.
Right.
More imagination for their bathroom than they do for their marriage. Yeah. And I think it's just important to go, if we're willing to design our house, let's 10 times as much design our marriage.
Our marriage,
I love how Melissa's dad, who's been my mentor, his name's Pastor Ken, and he married us and is such a great guy in our lives. But he always says, plan your marriage, not just your wedding. And I think that's really important. But this is about imagination for your marriage. Right. God put us here to enjoy life. And we're talking about in this series, how to enjoy your marriage. In Proverbs chapter 5, verse 18, it says, rejoice in the wife of your youth. That's the wisest man who ever lived, writing the words, rejoice in the wife of your youth. Like this should be fun, right? Yeah. And I'm convicted that, in society right now, marriage is no longer seen as a fun thing.
No.
It's almost
ball
like
and chain.
The ball and chain, it's not that appealing to people. Right. And, I guess if I looked around at some of the marriages I know, maybe I could understand why. If that was your target of what marriage is going to be, then maybe I can understand why you'd say no. But I want to put a call out to you. If you're watching this, you're listening to this, it's probably because you want your marriage to be better. And maybe it's up to us to go, let's set a new standard of how fun and how enjoyable and how awesome marriage is.
That's right.
So that others can look at it and understand that there's more fulfillment that comes from this relationship than any other human relationship that we have when done. Yep. I would think according to God's plan. When you go Proverbs 5:18, rejoice in the wife of your youth. Okay, let's dream it together and go all out. Deuteronomy chapter 24, verse 5. This is so interesting. It says, if a man is newly married, he must not be sent to war or be pressed into any duty. For 1 year, he is free to stay at home and bring joy to the wife he's married.
Hey,
now, don't take, I think that's great. Don't take the verse to your boss and be like, hey, no challenging tasks for the year. I just need to go easy street, but it probably is not going to go well if you do that. But the idea would be primary responsibility in the first year of marriage is to set that foundation where you're going to say, we're going to enjoy marriage. We're going to dream about where we could go with this relationship. and dream about adventure. Now, adventure doesn't happen by accident. Nothing worthwhile
This is so true.
is just accidental, right?
Yeah.
So you have to plan it. You have to dream it. You got to think about it. In the Old Testament, Solomon was this guy chosen to build the temple. Well, because David couldn't do it.
Yeah. Because he was a man of war.
God
wouldn't let him.
God wanted a man of peace to build the temple.
That's right.
But David goes in 1 Chronicles 22, verse 1, he said, this will be the location for the temple of the Lord God and the place for the altar of Israel's burnt offerings. He said, though I can't build this place, I'm going to, dream about it and set it up. And Melissa's going to talk more about how that worked out. But let me just point out a couple quick things on this dreaming about adventure. Like families, dreams really come in three forms. They're created, like we build these things. They're adopted.
Yeah.
Or they're blended, and just kind of.
So
like
you adopted my Italy dream.
I did, yeah, yeah. And some dreams we've created, out of our own, like they got birthed out of our own things. Some we've adopted of one another's, and then some we've blended, like kind of a little of your background or experience or passion, a little bit of mine, and we put them together, and that's been a beautiful thing.
And that would be like missions to me, like our desire for missions and seeing the world and helping, serving the world and underprivileged and stuff.
That's a great example because we've gone on so many missions trips together and those things. That happened to be something that both of us had previously had a passion and training even in, and brought that together and blended it and been able to see and do a lot of things with that. So that's been a lot of fun. I really like the quote from Ralph Waldo Emerson. He says, "Do not follow where the path may lead. Go instead where there is no path and leave a trail." And I'm really challenged and inspired to do that in marriage with you. I've always said I hope we can be 100 years married.
That's right.
We're 25 in, so we got 75 to go. That means July 15th, 2095.
Yes.
We're going to celebrate our 100th wedding anniversary. And we want to do it in Rome. And if you subscribe to this podcast, we're going to invite you.
That's right.
That's like, for us, we dream about that kind of stuff. Like, let's go all in, all out, and have that dream for adventure.
That's right. And so when you dream it, you also got to come down to the task of planning it.
Yeah.
And that's what I love. It's like my favorite part is planning. So, plan it. And so he was talking about Solomon and David. And the whole thing about that was, David was planning the temple for Solomon. He collected the wood and started getting all this stuff ready. So when the time came, his son could build this magnificent temple for God. And I love what it says in 1 Chronicles 22:5. It says, "My son is young and inexperienced. The temple should be magnificent, famous, glorious. So I will begin making preparations." And I love that his daddy makes preparations for him. And I think that's so awesome. But it was so detailed and so intentional. And I started thinking about that passage and I thought, I want my marriage to be like that. I want my marriage to be magnificent, glorious, famous, that kind of stuff. It's like, I want it to be something that matters, something that blazes a trail, that whole thing, And so planning it takes time. You got to plan those adventures, get together regularly, think about them, talk about them, write them down. Gabe has this journal that goes with us on dates a lot of times, and he's like writing things down.
True nerd.
He's a total nerd, but it's great. So,
but here's an interesting thing about planning is that usually in a marriage, you have this kind of complementary skill set, right? So you're definitely more of a planner and I'm more of a dreamer. And I think that for us has worked to our advantage. Yeah. But it could also work to your disadvantage if you don't recognize it. Because like when we get past the dream phase to the planning phase, sometimes it feels overwhelming to me. Like, oh no, we're into the details. That's not a strong place.
And that's my favorite part.
For me. Yeah, and it's a strong place for you. But I'm still trying to figure out how do I participate. So maybe you can talk about that. Like, how do you work together in that? All
right. Well, so get together regularly, think about your marriage, talk about it, plan things. I mean, go on date nights. We do a lot of Monday's our date day. And so when we get together on Mondays, it's like we're writing down ideas of where we want to go and looking things up and trying to figure this out. So, some of the three questions that kind of are always in my head is, what do you want to do? Where do you want to go? And what do you want to see? And those always stand out to us because it's like, where do you want to go? Well, I know Jamaica. And where's another place you want to go? Australia.
Fiji.
Norway, because Gabe's Norwegian. So,
you said Italian, but that's because you're Italian.
I know. It's all Italian to me. Where do you want to go? And so, I want to go to like Amsterdam. And then what do you want to see? And like, there's people who want to see the Lincoln Memorial or want to see the Sphinx or what do you want to see? What's out there that you want to see? The world is limitless. There's so many things that we can do and see. And so there's so much to do. So, I would mention 3 things. I think you should plan a date night like regularly. Mm-hmm. I know when we had littles, it was hard to do a date night, but we tried to be really, really consistent with once a month at least. And then as we've gotten older and our kids have gotten older and left us. Almost. Yeah. So we have Caleb's our youngest. He's a junior in high school and he's got a girlfriend and he's got a job and he's so busy. And then Caitlin is in college and then Dawson is a traveling musician. So it's like, so we can date whenever we want to date. And so, but plan a date night once a week would be awesome. Once a month if you have littles, I get that. Get away together a couple times a year. Oh man, Gabe and I love to sneak away to the beach for the night. I mean, we'll go to Lincoln City whenever. I love it there. And you can find some good deals going to the beach. Also, do a vacation together. If you've never done a couples trip, they are an absolute blast and so much cheaper than taking the family with you. I mean, I love having my babies with me, but woo, I love a couples trip. Yeah. We've done Mexico with just us and it is just so much fun. So, but they take time. These adventures take time and communication and effort. And so I'm going to get super practical with you for a couple minutes here and just tell you what we do to be able to do this kind of stuff, to plan our adventures. First of all, we save money.
Yes.
We have a line item in the budget that's for travel. And Gabe actually has a second job. And we usually will use that money to go on trips. And so to go see the world, to go do things. And so that's been hugely helpful. But sell something, get creative, make sure that's a priority. Mm-hmm. We do a lot of Googling, as I know a lot of people do, but man, Google is awesome. So we Google, we hop on Expedia and just look up hotels and flights a lot. And a couple years ago, we found flights from Portland to Rome for $430 a person.
That was unbelievable.
It was crazy, wasn't it? So as soon as we saw it, we bought them and we were like, okay, we're going.
That was one of those things like you see it, it's too good to be true. You just
we thought it was a lie.
And then you just figure it out afterwards. And that's what happened. Yeah.
I mean, and there's other things like the passport.com, restaurant.com, entertainment cards, those kind of things. All you can get buy one, get one frees and go see things, go do adventures and stuff like that. And so there's ways to do it and see things on the cheap. And so do that because it's important. Other things that we like to do, we hike, we go biking. Name one of our favorite biking.
Oh, we love the Columbia River in Vancouver, Washington.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
Oh, so pretty.
Yeah. Oh, Springwater Corridor. Yeah. Love the Springwater Corridor. So hiking, bike. We have Forest Park right here in Portland, which is like a huge hiking zone. So yeah, we love to do that. We like to go on drives. We'll go out to the gorge. We'll go to the beach, just things like that. Do picnics, restaurants, dessert places. Sky's the limit. Bend, Seattle, get on a cruise, go to Europe. I mean, we have an amazing world. And if we're not in COVID, we can actually go to those places. So eventually we're going back.
Right now we're just getting on Google Maps and just
we just pretending. Explore. Yeah. We're just acting like it now. But another thing that we do is we follow people or groups on social media that inspire us and do adventures. And so that way we can kind of see what people are up to. And another one is credit card. If you can get a credit card that generates points, you can get free flights. And we have gotten so many flights to Italy for free. I mean, we did Mexico one time. We got down for free. And then hotels you can get for free. So of course, always pay off your credit cards at the end of the month. But I'm just saying, that's your tip. But I'm just saying that's a good idea. Then that helps out. So get something on the calendar, like plan something, do something. It's fun to get together and plan it and research and write things down. And then once you plan it, you can start seeing what is there to do at that location or what can we do and and what do you want to see? And you start writing things down and it's just so much fun. So plan it. I have lots of different, ideas on how to help you get to your locations that you're dying to get to and just to really have adventures together. And I think a lot of those are taken off and getting away and just walking away from your normal routine. So a lot of times that does mean a trip even to the beach for the night is just kind of cut the cord and breathe. It's hard to really get a lot done when you're in the grind of home. Yeah. But date nights are really important too. So, but plan it, dream it and plan it. Get something on the calendar and go on an adventure. Yeah. And we've got some friends, that are really good at this. And, they're one of the inspirations that we look at and go like, oh my gosh, look, they're always doing something fun. Yeah. It's Blake and Nadia. Yeah. I want you to hear from them. Yeah.
I think every time we look back at some of the really cool, awesome, adventurous trips that we've taken, a lot of it usually came from something that wasn't planned originally, which kind of goes to that some of the best adventures in life are unplanned.
Yep.
And it made me think of kind of give two examples, one international and one local. Back in 2017, Nadia, being the planner that she is, had planned a big trip to Peru.
I have to show you my book, actually. I spent like 6 months planning this trip. It was, I booked taxis. Anyways,
Yeah.
continue.
So
Awesome.
we're big about when we even travel, we have to hit different parts of a country or a region. We want to try to get as much out of that trip as we possibly can. And so she had, planned all the different parts, Lima, Machu Picchu, everything. And then, unfortunately, there was some kind of El Nino flooding that took place down there. I have some friends that down there were saying, hey, this is just not a good time to come down. It's basically, we're going through some, major emergency situations with,
Landslides. So a lot of the roads were completed.
So we had to pivot, basically, what happened. And either we could have just canceled the trip altogether, which probably a lot of people would do, or within like 2 weeks, we had to say, okay, let's maybe go somewhere else.
1 week.
We had 1 week.
Oh my goodness.
And so we ended up switching. We sat down and brainstormed, and we're like, what's within same kind of budget and time frame of trying to the weeks we're looking to going. And we ended up switching to Japan, and we did like last minute pivoted. Went and called the airlines, got all the hotels, everything worked out. Got a new book.
New travel book.
And within that week, we had just everything from Peru to Japan, and that was probably by far, we've both been on a lot of trips, and that was our favorite that we've had. And it was really cool because it was something that we had totally hadn't put into plan. And I remember us on the airplane, like going through her book, trying to figure out different things we could do when we were there, and it all played out really well.
Right.
In the end.
When I like that you're making time together to go do something, and even if it doesn't work out how you planned it, you still pivot and still stick together and do something fun together. And I think that's really, really cool.
Yeah, and you don't let it ruin your attitude, right?
Right.
That's the biggest thing, because if you get all mad about it, then it doesn't matter what you choose to do. It's not fun.
Absolutely. And we've let that get to us before. We've done a lot of trips together, and there are a few times where things just really didn't work out the way that they were supposed to. We had put a lot into planning something. And like you said, attitude is 100%, I think, actually is the biggest part of it. It doesn't matter what happens, being able to pivot, have fun together, and, plan something else that's exciting. So there are a few things that I like to start with when I plan any of our adventures, whether they're local or international. I like to look at local websites. Just look at the website for the town or city that we're visiting. I like to see what a community values about themselves. They have a great idea of what they have to offer. And so that's where I usually start. I also like my books and my guides, like I showed you. I'm huge about that. I think that, Googling things is great, but sometimes it can be overwhelming. There's so many restaurants and ratings and different things you can do. And so kind of going back to what the experts have to say is kind of nice, and it gives you that peace of mind that I enjoy, especially when it's a big trip. One of my last tips, actually, and this is something that I still find a lot of value in, is no matter where we're going, especially if it's international though, is going to the visitor center and getting a physical map. My grandmother actually took my brother and I on a backpacking trip when I was 18 through Europe for 2 months. And hostels, we slept on trains. I mean, the whole 9 yards. We kind of grunged it, which was great. And every single place that we went, the first thing we would do is we'd go and get a map, because you can't always rely on your phone. You can't always rely on that SIM card. And it saved me a few times. So those are kind of, some of the big things I like to do when I plan personally. And then, like Blake said, plan to be spontaneous, because some things can go wrong.
How often do you guys schedule this kind of stuff?
So, it depends on what you're talking about. I mean, when it comes to international travel, we'd always try like once a year.
Oh, wow.
We both had an extensive, travel in our past, like a lot of mine was like mission work. She had a lot of humanitarian as well. And then also just our family. And we got together like once a year was a big thing for us. I know COVID has kind of put some new perspectives of when will be the next time we can travel, especially now with the little one. But outside of that, we try to do, locally, at least something 2-3 times a month. Even since COVID, try to go once a weekend, whether it be the lake or the coast or on a hike. Trying to get out and just make some kind of adventure happen. Especially now, I know it's hard. Everyone's still stuck inside, and you still got to go out and try to live your life and make some memories and build that adventure still.
So often new parents, it's almost like they put their marriage on hold.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that I think it's very harmful for marriage when you do that. And so what you've done is you've incorporated your daughter into your adventure life and into your marriage. And that's exactly, I think we've seen that work real well.
I think it's also good to just recognize the wins. Sometimes we even beat ourselves up. People that look at us and go, oh, you guys are so adventurous and you go out and you do things. And even sometimes when we beat ourselves up, we're going, oh, are we doing enough? Are we going out enough? Are we, going on enough hikes? Are we, going on new adventures? And then we reflect and we go, no, we are. Like we also acknowledge that, we are trying. We're trying to always.
I think that's a big thing like you said, for new parents, because there are times that we get all ready to go. We've got snacks, the dogs are taken care of, everything's loaded up, and then she's wailing for some reason or another, and she's just not in the mood to be out and about, and we have to reschedule. And so it's, and that's just part of it. Yeah. It really is. And just kind of keeping in mind that those things will happen, and just try again the next weekend. Yeah. Don't let fear deter you from going on an adventure. So there are lots of things you can be afraid of when you're planning a trip. You can be afraid of the financial aspects, and you just assume that you can't afford to go somewhere before you really put in the research. There are so many great ways. And if you need tips on that, I have spent a lot of time researching ways to travel on a budget. And, use your feet. Usually that's a great answer to things, is that there's so many places you can walk to if you really look for them. Also physically, people can be afraid of different trips or different places that they want to go on. So, of course, first and foremost, trust in God. Trust in that, I think a lot of people just let that fear eat at them when it comes to just adventure in general. And you have to have that trust in God first and foremost when you're going anywhere. And then also just have trust in your ability to problem solve. If something happens, you are capable, and as a team, you are incredibly capable. And trust on the advice of your partner, and know that you're going to keep that great attitude in place, and you're going to make it a great trip. So just don't live in that fear. All
right. Aren't they great? I love those guys. They're
cool.
So much fun. And we dream of being like them one day, even though they're younger than us. But okay, here's the third thing is, if you're going to have adventure in your life, you got to dream it, you got to plan it. You also got to do it. And do it together. Yeah. And that's really important. I have a confession to make, and you might already know this. I think I might have said something on one of our more recent road trips, but in fact, I know you know this because I asked if we could play a certain artist on the radio, and you were super surprised. Do you remember?
Oh, Taylor Swift.
Taylor Swift.
Seriously.
And I don't know why I like Taylor Swift's music, but I just do.
I don't either.
So there you go, world. I like Taylor Swift. But she has a song that we were listening to, and it's called Lover, right? And it says, Can I go where you go? Can we always be this close forever and ever? And I thought that's great. Let's do that. Let's be together. Yeah. Let's stay close together. I think, and if you're looking for inspiration in the Bible, I think Mary and Joseph are a great example of doing adventure together. I mean, now maybe their circumstances are a little bit unique, but nonetheless, they decided they were going to do this together. Joseph did not kick Mary to the curb when there was confusion about how did you get pregnant. Scripture teaches she was the Virgin Mary, and that she was the mother of Jesus in this miraculous conception. And so Joseph trusted in that. When the angel told him, he's like, okay. And so in Luke chapter 2, it says, and because Joseph was a descendant of King David, he had to go to Bethlehem in Judea, David's ancient home. He traveled there from the village of Nazareth. He took with him Mary, to whom he was engaged, who was now expecting a child. He goes, Mary, we're going, and I love that. I mean, that had to have been like a little bit of nostalgia. Now, granted, they had a donkey.
They had a donkey.
She was pregnant. It was old times. It was probably uncomfortable. But, they're going someplace together, and that's always so much fun. We have had a habit, a pattern of trying to do stuff together, and it's so much fun. It's so much more fun when you do things together.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, get into each other's world, do things together. Once you got a plan for this thing you're going to do, just have this total, I think you got to have almost a little bit of an abandon idea. Like, okay, we're shutting off. Like a lot of times if we go on vacation, I'm learning, not great at this, but learning that I can disconnect from email. And it's really helpful if I do that, because then I'm actually there. Like I found out that my wife as much as she wants my body, she wants more than just my body to be with her on vacation. And so I have to shut off the email. And what I do to do that is I actually delete the email app from my devices so that I actually can't even see it. And then when I get home, I just reinstall the email app, re-sign in, and then voila, there's 4,000 emails that I didn't need to know about when I was gone. And so I think that helps you to have fun. And there's some other things that we do when we do things together that we just try to inject a little more adventure in. We always say this phrase to each other, "You're my favorite." We say that a lot. And we just try to remind each other that. Some things that we do that are fun, Melissa already mentioned some of them, but I have nostalgic memories of road trips together, restaurants together, so many moments, not even nice restaurants, some of them, it's like, it's so funny when we think we're going to a nice restaurant and we get there and it's not a nice restaurant, and we just laugh and have these great memories. Traveling, walking. COVID has brought on this opportunity to walk together. And so we've more than ever, just kind of planned, hey, after dinner tonight,
in the evening,
let's go for a walk, and that becomes something that actually draws us together, and it brings a little adventure, because then you're on this trail and you're like, oh, look at that, and you get to experience and explore a little bit together. And I use I'm a pastor at Westside Community Church in Portland, Oregon, in the Portland, Oregon area. And I've done lots of weddings. And I've kind of crafted a set of vows that are very meaningful to me personally, and that most of the time when I do a wedding, they're going like, we'll just use those vows. And they say this. They say, I blank take you blank. I Gabe take you, Melissa, to be my wife, my constant friend, my faithful partner, and my love from this day forward. In the presence of our God, our families, and our friends, I offer you my solemn vow to be your faithful partner in sickness and health, in good times and bad, in joy and in sorrow. I promise to love you unconditionally, to support you in your goals, to honor and respect you, to laugh with you and cry with you, and to cherish you as long as we both shall live.
Yeah.
And I feel like what that communicates is togetherness, and I think that's so important about all this adventure stuff, is that we dream it together, not just to go, we're going to be the couple that goes more places than anybody else, or not just to be like, we're going to have the most organized, so we're going to plan it together, we're going to have the most organized adventures of anybody who ever lived. But it's really more about going like, we're going to be a together couple.
Right. And building memories together binds you together. So I think that's powerful.
Yeah, it really is. So I think it's important that we get intentional about this. We find that if you just let the good times roll, they don't.
They roll right out the door.
Exactly. Especially in a time like this.
Yeah.
So we are really passionate about this adventure thing, and want to encourage you to take a step to get involved, to do something that will help you. You got any other thoughts, practical
just
thoughts about that?
Just don't let your marriage ride and just settle. Just keep it fun, keep it adventurous, make each other a priority. And I think when you're planning events and activities together and stuff, it shows that you are a together force and that you want to be together. Yeah. And I always am leery of couples that have two separate lives. And so how can you merge your life together? Because that causes adventure and excitement and a really healthy, strong marriage.
Yeah, that's great. We'd love to hear what you're doing for adventure. You can just tag at Marriage Monthly. And if you're watching this on a podcast or listening on a podcast, or you see something on social media, let us know. We'd love to hear a little bit what you're doing. Some next steps. Yeah, give us some ideas. Next steps, subscribe to the podcast. We'd love to have you do that. We'd love to have you follow us, share that. We'd love to have you check out westsidecommunitychurch.com. That's the church that we lead in the Portland, Oregon area. We'd love to have you join us for church online some Sunday morning. And we would love to see you next month. We're going to talk about the third secret that makes you enjoy your marriage. So come on back.
All right. Bye.